Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I have huge news to share with you here today. We have two NATO member states with their airspace being violated last night by Russian drones, even a drone crashing in Latvia. Okay, Latvia and Romania coming out reporting that their airspace has been violated. A Russian drone crashed somewhere in the eastern side of Latvia last night, which is very interesting because it's nowhere near Ukraine. And this is the third NATO member state reporting a drone crashing into their territory or their airspace being violated. So, also Romania reporting a drone passing over their territory for approximately almost an hour long. Romania scrambled fighter jets did not intercept this drone and take it down. They were concerned, I'm assuming, due to falling debris, maybe striking a civilian. So they decided to let this drone fly over their territory for approximately almost an hour, guys. Very crazy. This drone ended up passing through their territory and on over to the Black Sea and exited out of their country. So this is multiple times Romania's airspace has been violated. And then we have this crash again inside Latvia. They are currently investigating to figure out where this thing crashed at. And this is the second drone crashing in NATO territory in just the last couple weeks. I reported to you guys Poland had the same thing happen just about a week to 2 weeks ago. And they searched for a drone crashing in their territory. They were never able to locate it. But on their radars, they were picking up what appeared to be a Russian drone entering their territory. So we're going to talk more about that today. I've also got a report coming out from Belgorod coming under lots of shelling, okay? Lots of rockets flying into Belgorod just in the last 24 hours. We even have a storage fuel tank that caught on fire, was destroyed by drones. So Belgorod region coming under heavy attack by the Ukrainians inside of Russia. So we'll talk about that as well. So before we get into the news, I wanted to let you guys know what this video is that you're watching. This is new video footage that came out from the Kursk region, okay? This is actually in the town of Kursk, and Kursk is one of those three towns with bridges that we've been talking a lot about lately. There's approximately an area of around 700 square kilometers that's being contested by the Ukrainians right now. The Russians are still over here in this area. There's probably about 3,000, if not more, Russian soldiers in this 700 square kilometer district. And it's the district of Glushkovsky, if I'm saying that right. We've been talking lots about that. So all these bridges have been destroyed. And this is new footage coming out from Kursk showing that third bridge being destroyed by Ukrainian HIMARS. We can see the cluster munitions hitting this bridge as well. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. It was new footage coming out showing one of these bridges being destroyed. And let's go ahead and jump right into the news, guys. I've got a lot of things to share with you here today. Let's start with these airspace violation reports. Edgar's Rinkovics on X. So if I'm saying his name right, I apologize if I'm not saying that right. But he is Latvia's president. Russian military drone has crashed in the eastern part of Latvia yesterday. There is an ongoing investigation. We are in close contact with our allies. The number of such incidents is increasing along the eastern flank of NATO, and we must address them collectively. Okay, this is just insane, guys. I mean, how many times is this going to happen? Why is NATO not shooting these down? Why are they allowing these drones to crash into their territory? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But we're getting very close to something major happening here. I really hope we don't end up having an innocent civilian being struck by one of these drones or even a missile coming from Russia, who knows? And the biggest question here is, how did this drone get into their airspace? Because NATO is much further away from Ukraine. Okay, I'm going to show you on a map here in case you're not familiar of where Latvia is. How did this drone get into their country? Okay, it just doesn't make any sense. It had to have come through Belarus, or maybe it malfunctioned coming from Russia. I mean, Latvia does border with Russia as well, but why would these drones be going this direction? It's very strange. So let's go ahead and keep moving here. From next to just in, head of the Center for Combating Disinformation, Russia could attack NATO through Belarus. Russian Shaheeds are increasingly flying into Belarus and through this country to the border of NATO countries with a specific purpose. So far, Belarus has shot down the UAVs, but what if Russian UAVs fly into NATO airspace through Belarus? There will be questions for Minsk, Andriy Kovalenko said. So I thought this was an interesting report because it literally just came out this morning, all around the same time that we see these drones flying into NATO airspace, especially Latvia. and Latvia borders with Belarus. Okay, so let me show you this map so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go full screen for a moment. And here's Latvia over here. Okay, Ukraine is down here. How did these drones end up in Latvia way over here? If they get into, Romania, I understand that it's very close to Ukraine. Same with Poland. Eastern Ukraine is close to Poland. A lot of time Lviv comes under attack. It's very close to their border. I could see that happening. But Latvia, way over here, how did a drone enter their eastern airspace over here and crash into their territory? Now, we have been reporting that inside of Belarus lately, we've seen lots of drones on their eastern side of their country entering from Russia, okay, trying to fly over Belarus into Ukraine. And sometimes many of these drones are successful flying from Russian territory over Belarus down here to Ukraine. But how did this thing manage to fly this direction up here to Latvia? That's what I don't really understand. And we're going to try to get to the bottom of this. Maybe we'll get some updates coming out from Latvia later. But this was literally just being reported this morning, so we don't have all the details yet. I'm sure they will be investigated to figure out what happened here. But this is obviously very dangerous, okay? Many of these NATO member states that are close to the eastern, or close to, on the eastern front of NATO, close to Russia, I should say, have been having their airspace violated, okay? This is very bad because at some point, some innocent civilian is going to get struck here and we're going to have a major problem. And is NATO going to have to respond to that? Most likely in some way. And it's getting very close to an eventual war between Russia and NATO. And I think many people could probably say it's inevitable at this point, okay? So I just thought I'd share that with you, show you a map exactly where Latvia is so you can get an understanding of why these drones would be entering their territory when Ukraine is down here, okay? It just doesn't make any sense. So also, let's talk about Romania now. Radu Hasu reports at least one Russian drone of Iranian production, Shahed 136, violated NATO airspace, crossing the Romanian border from Vilkov or something. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sorry, guys. Odessa Oblast towards Novodari, Constanta, Romania. It violated Romania's airspace from approximately 0240 hours to 0330. Okay, so for 50 minutes, it flew over their territory, flying more than 70 kilometers from the border towards Razim Lake, and then it exited over the Black Sea. Romanian Air Force lifted F-16s from the ground, but did not shoot down the drone. The most likely reason was to protect civilians. The Russian drone flew over populated areas. When the drone first crashed in Setalchoi, I don't know, I'm probably saying that wrong too, guys. My apologies. Romania, on September 7th, 2023, I wrote that it was not a deliberate Russian attack, but I added that we should expect constant violations of Romanian and thus NATO airspace because Russia's interest is to create vulnerabilities in the political area of the alliance, but also to create fear among civilians. This war is a war not only for territories, but also for minds, people's minds. I am waiting for the firm reaction of our allies because I cannot expect much from the local politicians. When will we learn? So here's a map that he pulled up for us to kind of show you where this took place. Okay, it crossed over, this looks like the southeastern portion of Romania, close to the Ukrainian border. Okay, this is where we've seen a lot of these drones flying in. It's very close to the Ukrainian border down here in the southeastern portion. So it crossed over their territory for 50 minutes before exiting over here into the Black Sea. We don't have any reports as to if it crashed in their territory. I don't think it did, but for sure inside of Latvia, it did crash from what is being reported. So let's go and move on now to Vicegrad 24. The fact that we are 2.5 years into the war and NATO still hasn't deployed tons of air defense systems in the east after Russian missiles or suicide drones have struck Poland, Romania, and Latvia is outrageous. You know, Vicegrad 24 has a point here. Why are we not hearing this? Why are we not hearing NATO beefing up their air defense systems on the eastern side of the country? Are they just not concerned about these drones flying in? Are do they just not want to shoot these down because of maybe falling debris might strike somebody? They'd rather just let the drones fly over their territory and hopefully exit like what we saw in Romania. I don't know, but he's got a point here as these drones continuously enter into NATO airspace. Also, Russian missiles. We had missiles flying into Poland towards the beginning of this war as well. So yeah, why are they not beefing up air defense systems on the Eastern Front? Doesn't make any sense. But maybe there's some reasons for that. So I thought I'd share that with you as well. Also from Mircea Geona, This is the Deputy Secretary General of NATO. NATO condemns the overnight Russian airspace violation into Romanian airspace, while we have no information indicating an intentional attack, once again, by Russia against allies. These acts are irresponsible and potentially dangerous. So, looks like, again, what's being reported is it was not an intentional attack. So most likely they're just going to write this thing off again and say it was a mistake from the Russians. But how long can this go on and continue, okay? It's what happens, this is why I keep saying, what happens when a NATO member comes under attack by one of these drones and we have an unfortunate situation where a civilian is harmed by one of these attacks, okay? How are they going to say that wasn't intentional? Could they say it was still a mistake? Maybe. I mean, we've seen Poland do that. We had a Russian missile that supposedly flew into Poland towards the beginning of the war, striking like somebody's farm or something. There was like an elderly man, I believe, and also potentially a child that was killed in that attack. And they wrote that off and said it was potentially even a Ukrainian air defense missile. So who knows what happened there? But this is obviously getting very dangerous. Okay, so also we're going to move on now to Belgorod and talk about that in Russia. Jason J. Smart reports Belgorod, Russia is taking incoming Ukrainian rockets. None of this would have happened if the Russians stayed in their own country and out of Ukraine. So Jason J. Smart is obviously a major supporter of Ukraine. I show some of his information coming out on X from time to time, so that's why he's speaking this way. But we've got a 6-second clip of what appears to be some smoke inside of Belgorod after it came under attack by Ukrainian rockets. Take a look. All right, just a quick clip of that, and we can see lots of smoke here. And from what I understand, we had rockets flying into Belgorod, also Ukrainian drones as well, targeting inside this region, Belgorod city coming under attack especially. So also, excuse me, from Max 24, in the Belgorod region, drones attacked a fuel storage site. The tanks are on fire. So we even had reports of a fuel storage site coming under attack. I've got a picture to show you guys as well. So Max24 brought this video to us. Take a look, 5 seconds long. Okay, so this might be that same smoke that we were seeing in that other video. Maybe it was just somebody from further away, and this person appears to be a lot closer to this. But what is being reported was a storage site or a storage fuel tank that was hit, okay? So here's a picture of it from Bliskovka. In the Belgorod region, Russia fuel tanks caught fire as a result of a drone strike, local media reports. So we got a picture as well showing some fuel storage tanks on fire as they were struck by what appears to be Ukrainian drones, okay? So major fire breaking out here in Belgorod, and most likely this was probably an attack on the storage fuel sites to maybe prevent the military of Russia to refuel their units moving over towards the Kursk region. And we've been seeing a lot of this, okay? A lot of the airfields coming under attack, especially right when Ukraine launched their incursion into the Kursk region. We started to see lots of attacks on Russian airfields and ammo depots. And that was to put a lot of pressure on protecting their troops inside of the Kursk region. That way, Ukraine could make some gains. So that's most likely what we're seeing here as well. Also coming out from next to just in the Russian city of Belgorod was shelled. So we've got another video showing some areas coming under attack inside of Belgorod. Also, we can see lots of smoke in this picture. So let's take a look at this video, 16 seconds long. Okay, so I'm not sure what the significance of this attack is, but we can definitely see a fire down here by the trees. Something was struck down here. I don't know if this is that storage facility as well, maybe just a different angle, it's possible, or the storage fuel tanks, excuse me. But we could definitely see a major fire breaking out over here in the tree line as something was definitely struck here in the Belgorod region. So let's go ahead and move to our next update. From Max24, we've got another video. It says Belgorod region. We've got smoke here also. This could also be this storage fuel tank, but let's take a look at this also. 17 seconds. Okay, there's not much sound as we can see, but definitely a major fire breaking out here. And this does look like a different area. It looks like there's some houses back here, so this might be a completely different part of Belgorod that came under attack. And we can see, again, a major fire breaking out here. So I don't know exactly what was hit. The only thing we know for sure that was struck inside the Belgorod region was that the fuel storage tanks, okay? So major hits inside of Belgorod coming under attack from lots of rockets and drones fired from Ukraine. And also, we've got a picture here. It says here from Bliskovka, explosions rang out in Belgorod, Russian mass media reports. The local governor said that allegedly as a result of a drone attack, a hangar on the territory of the Enterprise caught fire. So we got a picture of a hangar that was destroyed as well, most likely from a drone attack. And who knows what was inside of here. I don't know if these were aircraft being stored in here or what these were, but definitely a hangar being destroyed inside the Belgorod region. Pretty crazy to see that massive fire here. All right, so let's move on now. We're going to talk about some miscellaneous events happening inside of Ukraine and Russia. I've got this report from Military News UA. It says satellite images of a burning ammunition warehouse in the Voronezh region. This was reported yesterday, and I thought I'd share this with you guys. Satellite footage after the ammo depot that was struck yesterday in the Voronezh region. I did a whole update letting you guys know about that. Look at the amount of fire that spreaded after this ammunition depot went up into flames, okay? That's how much this fire spreaded after the secondary explosions were going off, and we definitely had this whole region on fire for a number of hours after this strike took place, so pretty crazy to see that. So we'll go ahead and move to our next update now. From Nexta, Bloomberg reports, excuse me, Iran denies providing ballistic missiles to Russia. They say they are not supporting any side in the Russian-Ukrainian war. Do we believe them? Okay, so this is a big report coming out today, as I've been letting you guys know over the last few days that Iran was preparing to send ballistic missiles to Russia. These are short-range ballistic missiles for the most part. The FATH 360 systems, I've been talking so much about those lately. Very similar to the HIMARS that Ukraine is using, potentially a better system statistic-wise. And we had reports yesterday that Iran supposedly had sent them already, and Russia has received them. And I let you guys know that. So the latest update now, Iran coming out and saying they have not sent any ballistic missiles to Russia. Okay, so we'll see what happens from this. The real proof will be whenever we start, finding out that Ukrainian cities are being hammered by these short-range ballistic missiles, or maybe Ukraine is able to destroy one of these and they're able to catch it on camera and we're able to confirm that it actually is a FATH 360 system, or maybe something that is Iranian made. So we'll have to see what happens, but Iran coming out and denying, saying they have not sent any ballistic missiles to Russia. Okay, also from Benjamin Tallis, says here, Germany's NATO allies openly calling for Berlin to send Taurus cruise missiles because they know Ukraine's victory is Europe's interest and helps defend our values. So he's citing a post here on X from Gabrielius Landsbergis. Okay, he is the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Lithuania, and he reported yesterday, he said, Russia and Iran are waiting for a response to their latest escalation. Now is what Taurus was made for, and Taurus is cruise missiles that are produced by Germany, and these are missiles that have been held back by Germany since the start of the war, and they've said many times they didn't want to send them over to Ukraine for a number of reasons, either for escalation, but they also claim that the major reason why was they would have to train Ukrainian troops on how to use them. So throughout the duration of this war, Germany has not wanted to send these Taurus missiles over to Ukraine. And Ukraine's been wanting them for a very long time. So again, they could have another weapon to go after long-range targets inside of Russian territory. So we'll see if that happens. But there's starting to be a lot of talk behind this. Okay, lots of NATO members coming out and saying that Ukraine should be able to strike back inside of Russian territory. But we've been discussing this for a very long time now. But it still looks like at this time they're not able to do so with any Western-made weapons. So update coming out from there. Also from Nexta, head of the Ukrainian presidential administration speaks about authorizations to strike deep into Russia. In response to the delivery of ballistic missiles to Russia, Ukraine should be allowed to destroy the warehouses with these missiles with Western weapons to avoid terror. Democracies must respond to the terror of autocracies. Strikes against terrorist Russia are defense, and defense is not escalation. Okay, so like I said, guys, whenever Iran was going to receive these ballistic missiles, we talked about this yesterday, it was going to put lots of pressure on the West to lift restrictions for Ukraine to strike back inside of Russia. And especially if we start seeing very soon that Iranian missiles are flying into Ukraine and we have confirmation of it's going to be a horrible situation, but people are going to lose their lives. Okay. And I've been telling you guys that this is just the way it's going to have to be. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to lose their lives before there is any kind of change in policy for Ukraine being able to strike back inside of Russian territory, at least deep into their territory. So I think it's going to take something like that. I think there's going to be some sort of confirmation of Iranian missiles flying into Ukraine, excuse me, until there is any kind of change. And obviously, it's going to put more and more pressure on the West to lift these restrictions, primarily the United States. Okay, they're probably the number one country holding back any restrictions being lifted for Ukraine. So that's why I wanted to show that to you guys. Also, we have some updates coming out from the Kursk region that I want to share for you. War Translated Dmitry. I really like that he's been sharing these posts for us lately. I've been doing this over the last few days. Lots of Telegram posts coming out from Russian soldiers giving an update on their end. And this is from War Correspondent, or it says War Correspondent Sladkov reports that he is shocked by the scale of economic losses that Russia is suffering in the Kursk region due to the invasion. According to him, hundreds of thousands of people have fled to the region to save themselves. And this has a serious impact on businesses and even on neighboring regions. So yeah, think about that. The fact that Ukraine invaded into the Kursk region, I'm sure the Kursk region is suffering heavily right now because a lot of people had to leave. And then imagine no one's working anymore. There's no economic activity in that region, considering that now it's a war zone. So it's going to obviously hurt Russia's economy, but primarily the Kursk region. And then imagine trade between the different regions. If there's the Bryansk region nearby, Kaluga region, but Belgorod region, they're all going to be impacted by this incursion, as it's going to stop a lot of trade within those areas as well. So it says here, number one, the enemy has settled into its usual state of uncertainty about its positive future. I'm not basing this on what prisoners say. Each captive fights for their life with every word, reading the desires of those who captured them and saying whatever is necessary to survive. I'm basing this on the feelings that inform my brain, much which I've learned to decode without fail over 33 years of reporting. The enemy near Kursk has weakened. Number two, I am certain that everything now depends on the results of our men's combat efforts on the Donetsk front. If we see a similar collapse of the enemy near Kharkiv, the Kharkiv factor will come into play. Ministry of Defense is doing a lot to break the Ukrainian armed forces in Vovchansk, Lipitsy, and Kupiansk. Why do I say a lot and not everything? Because our Ministry of Defense could burn Ukraine to the ground in a half an hour, but we're not using that option, but the option is there. Number three, I'm shocked by the scale of economic losses we're suffering due to the enemy's incursion into our land. Hundreds of thousands of refugees who will need to be compensated for their lost homes and much more. All of the children from Suits are being sent to Artek, which is a significant decision. We can't yet comprehend how much Russian businesses and Suits have lost supplies, construction materials, valuable items, documents, a vast fleet of construction equipment. If we had managed to evacuate it all, it would have been better. So yeah, I mean, we know for sure that inside the Kursk region that many of the people were not even evacuated. We've shown you guys reports, video footage of some of the residents there that were claiming that they were left behind. Most of them were evacuated, but some people were literally left behind. And the Ukrainians had to pick up the slack for the Russian government and help out the people there. We've shown you even video footage of some of the dogs that were left behind. People had to leave their pets. Ukrainian soldiers were over there bringing them food. And trying to feed the dogs and keep them alive. So obviously massive catastrophe in the Kursk region whenever this incursion was launched. And here's the transcript that was originally in Russian in case you guys want to take a screenshot and just go over that later if you want to. Just thought I'd share that with you. Also, we have another report from War Translated Dmitry again. There's a bit of panic on Russian channels. According to them, Ukrainian armed forces have brought new reserves to Kursk to strengthen the second line of defense, and have also deployed engineering troops for a potential offensive. The accuracy of this statement cannot yet be verified. In addition, a well-known volunteer, Ghost of Novorossiya, if I'm saying that right, announced the creation of a full-fledged branch in the Kursk region, saying that this is for a long time. Okay, so now we've got some reports potentially here that the Ukrainians could be deploying new reserve troops to the Kursk region to strengthen their line of defense. And also, we're hearing engineering troops could be showing up for a potential offensive. So let's read this here. In Kursk Oblast, 2 significant changes have occurred from the enemy side from a tactical point of view. Number 1, the first units of the National Guard have been brought into the region, namely the 11th Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine, transferred from the Kherson direction. These are the same mobile groups, UAV operators, and the second line defense units that is the enemy is forming, deepening the defense and doing all this seriously. No one is going to leave anywhere. Apparently, the issue of attracting other units of the National Guard of Ukraine will also be decided, many of which are currently not involved in combat operations and are carrying out positional service on the banks of the Dnieper. Also, number 2, the 49th Separate Engineering Assault Brigade, newly formed, has been brought into the Kursk Oblast, whose tasks are to support primarily technical, large-scale offensive actions, including in urban areas, and when overcoming water obstacles. What this indicates is very easy to guess. Okay, so this is some major updates coming out from the Kursk region. So what it sounds like is exactly what we're hearing on the Eastern Front that I've been reporting to you guys. Inside the Donetsk region, lots of National Guard troops, reserves showing up into the Eastern Front, and also looks like the Kursk region is being beefed up as well. So not only are they trying to create a second line of defense and put a halt to any kind of offensive from the Russians, either on the Eastern Front or inside the Kursk region, but it looks like they're bolstering their defenses and also preparing another offensive and attacks in these areas, which we've already been seeing that. I'll have a report coming out from the Eastern Front as well. And this is it right here, okay, from Grayskull. Further advances claimed in New York. Okay, we've been talking about New York. It's a eastern city that was originally, from what I understand, taken over by the Russians. And as we had this counterattack happen over the last 24, 48 hours, we saw Ukrainians pushing back into this city. This is near the town of Toretsk. And Toretsk is a key city also on the Eastern Front, where the Ukrainians are fighting very hard to hold the Russians back. And this is very close to the Pokrovsk direction as well. We've been talking a lot about Pokrovsk, a major key town on the Eastern Front as well, near the Donetsk region that Ukraine is desperately trying to hold on to. And lately we've seen a stop to the Russian forces pushing into this area. So this blue represents this new region that Ukraine is starting to push into now, as this is where they were at just in the last 24 hours. This green area, now they're starting to take over another portion of New York. So are they going to start to retake New York? I think it's very possible. We're seeing a very successful counterattack from the Ukrainians. I'll continue to follow this, and we will report on it as much as we possibly can. So let's move on now to next. Zelensky reports Ukraine organizes underground production of arms and ammunition. We are building underground facilities for the production of weapons so that Ukrainian soldiers have the opportunity to defend themselves, even if deliveries from our partners are delayed. Okay, so what's being reported here? Underground facilities being built, and it looks like Ukraine is doing a lot of this. Okay, I just reported to you guys the other day, underground med stations, okay, medical stations being constructed as well. So that way their troops that are being they're being helped out by the medical teams if they're wounded, and if they're suffering from their injuries, they can suffer safely underground, right? They don't have to worry about being attacked from above, from missiles coming in and destroying the facilities. So we're seeing Ukraine building lots of underground facilities, and looks like they're building productions of arms and ammunition as well underground. So that's some big news. Ukraine's starting to do a lot of that recently. Also from Noel reports, Ukraine developed its own precision-guided bomb, which is expected to become a key weapon for strikes against Russia. The bomb, equipped with a rocket booster and wings, has a range of up to 65 kilometers and is GPS-guided, resembling the French hammer bomb. Okay, so it looks like Ukraine has created their own precision-guided bomb that they're going to be using. And we've been seeing Ukraine developing all kinds of their own weaponry, okay? They're kind of they're forced to have to do this, okay? They have to produce all their own weaponry, because if they want to go after any targets inside Russia, they have to use their own weapons for right now. So we've been seeing lots of this. So this is a huge report being shared all over X right now that Ukraine has created their own precision-guided bomb. So I thought I'd share that as well. Also reported from OSINT Technical, Portugal just successfully donated 6 Kamov Ka-32 A11BC multi-role helicopters to Ukraine, with the final airframe leaving the city of Ponte d'Azur for Ukraine on Friday. Ukraine has experience operating the type, with the donated Ka-32s likely serving as useful utility birds. Okay, so it looks like Ukraine's going to be getting 6 of these helicopters. This will probably help them in a lot of rescue operations, maybe transfer some equipment around their country. So it looks like Portugal has sent over 6 of these to Ukraine. Also, 2 more reports to go over, guys, from Bliskovka. Ukraine has banned Russian prisoners from making phone calls. According to Ombudsman Dmytro Lubinets, the decision was made in response to the increasing number of executions of Ukrainian prisoners of war. Lubinets stressed that this ban is not a violation of the Geneva Convention, as the document allows only correspondence. So it looks like the Russian prisoners inside of Ukraine are being punished for the Ukrainian soldiers that have been reportedly being executed whenever they try to surrender to the Russians. I showed you guys a report on that yesterday. It is a real thing that's going on right now. It's not the first time we've seen this happen, but it is happening a lot right now. Lots of reports of Russian soldiers executing Ukrainian prisoners. There's video footage popping up all over online showing that as well. So it looks like Ukraine is taking some measures to punish some of the prisoners that are currently in their prisons, and preventing them from making phone calls back to their families, to maybe put pressure on Russia to stop these executions of Ukrainian prisoners. So once again, just more barbaric acts that we see from Russia, doing some crazy, insane things. So also, I want to show you one last thing here for Megatron Ron. Breaking. Sanctions against Russia are taking their toll on Germany. Dramatic collapse of Germany's industrial production, down 2.4% in July compared to the previous month, reports Telepolis. On the year, industrial production is down by more than 5%. The renewed drop was mainly driven by weak activity in the automotive, electronics, and metal industries. Even though Germany's economy is sinking, the Scholz government continues to arm Ukraine and expand sanctions that do Russia no harm. So when it comes to this, okay, this is about economy, right? So it looks like their industrial production was down 2.4%, and their obviously, these sanctions are hurting many countries, and we talked about this yesterday. I did a report towards the end of our video update regarding Ukraine yesterday that Donald Trump came out recently in a speech, and he was saying that if he becomes president, basically indicating he may lift restrictions, or these sanctions, on Russia, as these sanctions are doing more harm to the West than they are doing to Russia, and obviously harming the dollar as well. And his argument was, well, we need to lift these sanctions at some point. We can't keep these sanctions on Russia forever, as it's harming the dollar's dominance, and we obviously need the dollar to remain the dominant currency of the world, or else another country is going to take its place. So we're hearing a lot of talk about that. And then also think about what's happening in the United States right now. The United States starting to lower interest rates. That's a sign of, obviously economy is not looking too good. And there's lots of talk about recession inside of the United States, been discussed for a very long time now, but it's looking more and more highly likely every day. The stock market in the United States recently has been crashing over the last week. So there's obviously lots of economic issues throughout the world right now. And although many countries are trying to make it appear as if there's not major issues, there is. Okay, inflation issues just alone. Many of us go to the grocery store, we can see inflation has skyrocketed all across the board, especially when you even just buy food and gas. Definitely a lots percentage higher than what is being told. But I wanted to share this with you guys because this is also another effect to this war. And obviously it's going to harm many nations as we continue to fuel this war inside of Ukraine. So it's pretty crazy. There's obviously a back-end effect to this. Although Ukraine's getting all these weapons, at the same time, it's hurting economies such as Germany. So thought I would share that with you guys. But lots of big reports coming out from this war between Russia and Ukraine. It's continuing to get out of control, and it's getting closer and closer to an inevitable conflict between Russia and NATO. So, I mean, let me know what you guys are thinking down below. What are your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down in the comment section? But that's going to be it for this update. If you got something out of this update today, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope y'all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.